You know, I'm often asked what it's like to have a Filipino wife by many men on this channel who may be thinking of dating and marrying a Filipina. Now, I can only speak from my own experience here on how I've found my experience to be with my Filipino wife over the past 7 years. In this video, I'll relay my experience with you guys who are considering taking the steps forward to finding a good Filipina. And I'm certainly aware that not every relationship works out, and some may have a different view than mine. I've had a couple of long-term relationships with women in Australia from the age of 19 through to my late 40s, and each of those relationships I found not to be overly fulfilling or satisfying. After I divorced in my late 40s, I decided to look for a woman that was in line with my own values around a relationship. And to me, I admired the old-fashioned values women in my country had maybe 40 years or so ago, but has long since disappeared. I really felt I was getting too old to keep having failed relationships. And despite my obvious disappointments, I still held a firm belief in the institution of marriage. But this time, I wanted to be sure the woman held similar beliefs and values. And so I started my search online to find a traditional Filipina who held the same values as myself. Once I found a woman that I thought could very well be compatible, I flew to meet her in person. And it was very quickly that I immediately saw the difference between women I had relationships with in the West and this particular Filipina. Now, anyone can and will be on their best behaviour and out to impress at the very start of any relationship, but the real test here is time. And really, if someone's acting, then they can only do this for so long before their real colours are revealed. What really stood out for me on the first visit to the Philippines was how polite and respectful my Filipina girlfriend was, and that nothing was too much for her to do for me. And it wasn't just that she was doing plenty for me, it seemed that she was genuinely happy to do all these things. And although these may seem like very little things, such as when she would have a cloth to wipe the sweat from my face in the heat and humidity, and when she would get my food for me at lunch or dinner time while I remained sitting down, I really hadn't experienced that before. And to be honest, it felt a little strange, as I'm perfectly capable of getting up and serving my own food, but at the same time, it was also a wonderful feeling. There were also many other examples of this, such as the care she would show me when we had been walking all day, when she would rub my feet, or when I had a headache and she would massage my head and shoulders. Such things showed me that she really liked to take care of her man, and as time went on, I found that she continued to do these things for me, always with a smile on her face. So fast forward, and as the relationship progressed and we got to know each other more, I never noticed any differences in the way she would treat me. So this really said to me that this is her natural behaviour and way of being in a relationship. Whether it was her culture or the way she was brought up, or possibly a combination of both, I'm not really sure. But certainly this was the type of relationship that I'd been searching for in the West and failed to find. And so we married in Australia 6 years ago. Has my relationship with her changed during that time? One would certainly think that if she was going to change, then she would have done so some years back. But no, she's still a very caring woman who always looks out for me first. And still to this day, nothing is ever too much of an effort for her where I'm concerned. So my experience with my Filipino wife has been and remains that she's very loving, honest and loyal, who values this relationship and the family we have. She's certainly very grateful to the new life we have together and works very hard each day to make sure I feel like I'm number one in our relationship. And she does all this while also looking after the house with the cleaning, cooking, washing, as well as holding down a part-time job. And still, amazingly, she never complains and always finds time for me. All this after 7 years being with her and 6 years married, absolutely blows me away, and I often sit back and wonder to myself, why didn't I find this woman years ago? My wife is truly the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm the most content I've ever been in my life. And I do believe that I finally found what I spent a large portion of my life looking for. And I see all the time in comments on YouTube and social media where people will tell their stories around dating or married to a Filipina, and it's been a true disaster. Now, I'm not going to say that these people are lying or they didn't take their time to find a good Filipina, although that may be a strong possibility for many. And it's sad to see these people didn't find what they'd hoped for in order to experience what I'm relaying to you right here. But I guess on social media and YouTube, the happy stories don't always get the attention that they deserve, and as such, most people and creators on YouTube only want to tell you about the failed and horrible stories around dating or marrying a Filipina, simply because it creates more drama, and frankly, more people will find it more interesting than a happily ever after sort of video. So to any man out there looking to date a Filipina, I certainly say go for it. But think very carefully about what qualities she must possess and take your time to find her. Even if it takes 2 or 3 years to find the right Filipina, it will certainly be very well worthwhile, as I've certainly found out. For more helpful information around dating a Filipina, be sure to click the playlist on screen now. Thanks for watching, stay safe and take care.